back to the Gyrl podcast. All right, I'm excited to welcome Felicity to the show. Welcome.
Kyra, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. All right, so why don't we get started first by having you tell the audience listening or watching who you are and what you do.
First of all, I'm a mom. I always put that first. I'm a mother. I am the brand owner of She Is You, which is the midlife woman's magazine of today. It's a small brand that we're growing. I've been growing it for over 5 years. We focus in the 4 pillars that are most significant to our foundation, which would be spirituality, health and wellness, career and relationship. And am I forgetting one? I'm like, it's Saturday, so am I forgetting?
It's all good.
Let's just throw lifestyle in there just because my mind is drawn a blank.
It's all good.
We all like to shop. No, and then I'm an author and a speaker. So my memoir was picked up, Pieces of Me, under Felicity Nicole. My memoir was picked up during COVID. I queried right at the beginning of COVID, and it was picked up. It's a long process, and that walks the journey of who I am. You get to see Little Wheezy, that's my nickname. Yes, grow into who I am today. I'm a childhood trauma, domestic violence survivor. I witnessed my father attempt to kill my mom at the age of 10. And then we just had to raise ourselves. There was a lot of abandonment issues, a lot of trauma, which only led into me being being groomed. I speak about that a lot. I was groomed into being with my first husband, which was a severely domestic violent relationship. And I think did a TikTok yesterday. I was lucky to be the lucky ones to be, escape. I know I had like $45 to my name and a 7-year-old, but I did it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, we're so happy that you have that you first thank you for your transparency and just speaking about it, and so glad that you are healing yourself and as well as helping other women, because I think it's so important for other women to hear about what other women have gone through and just how they just so they know they're not alone. I mean, in a place where there's a lot of conversations, right, on social media. People are always there's always chatter, but I think a lot of time the realness still gets lost in it because people are still just trying to say like, no, but this is my perfect life. Like, see me, this is the way I want you to see me, is like everything's fine. And I just so think we need more people like you who are just real about what happens.
Thank you. Because life is not perfect. Current status, there's always going to be hiccups, trials, and tribulations, and relationships and business within our personal self. There's always, God is always going to challenge us to grow.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Sorry. When you said that, I was like, yes. I'm definitely experiencing one of those seasons right now with God, where He is challenging me to grow in some areas, and I always tell people, I'm like, it doesn't feel good. Like, it doesn't feel good. Like, it's usually one of the worst times of your life, but it's what comes from it and the learnings. And I, as a woman of faith, I always know that like God has like He goes before me and my steps are already ordered. And I know that like what He's doing is working for my good. I just have to, I have to like submit to it, and I have to be willing to go through it.
Yeah, the surrender is hard, right? Because
Oh yeah.
it's so hard, but you gave me goosebumps when you said how uncomfortable it is, because I don't think people realize that when God is in your life doing the work, it really is uncomfortable and it can be painful and intense, but you have to remember that you're not alone. You can turn to Him, you can turn to scripture, therapists, healers. There's so many modalities out there to support whatever season of womanhood or life that we're in.
Right. Yes, that is so, yeah. So I love that you tackle a lot of topics that, right, have maybe been seen as taboo for women, especially, and I love that the focus is like midlife.
Yeah.
So what has inspired you? And I'm pretty sure it's part of your own journey, but can you talk about that?
Yes, absolutely. So when I was going through how do you want to say this? So when I was going through the attempt to leave my first marriage, when you're with an abuser, they will pull out every ounce of self-worth, esteem that possibly could. I didn't have a place to turn to, to rebuild myself. So this was a passion project of mine to build a magazine that would support women on their journey. And I picked Midlife because I'm 47 and I think we are Gen X women.
I'm five, sister, we're right there.
Yes, yeah. That whole generation, we were groomed into being told we could do everything, be everything. The career woman, the mom, the wife, the PTO woman, pulled in thousands of directions. Just this chatter, you can do it, you can do it. And we're fried, we're broken, we're substance abusers, we're unhappy in our marriages, we're sexless marriages. I talk a lot about taboo, that's the reality. That's my client, I hear it. And so what I do is I help them reconnect with themselves inside by discovering what they have and what their true passion is. Because maybe it's time to walk away from corporate America and do what you are meant to do, what the feminine is meant to do, what God put us on our planet to do.
Felicity, you over there speaking a word this morning, girl.
You got me on fire.
I mean, because it is so true. And for everyone listening, I love all of my generations who are listening, but I am also Gen X too. And that is so true. We are the generation of people who had to carry a heavy load. We were latchkey kids. We had to go home by ourselves. Our parents were working. We had to take care of younger siblings. We had to learn how to be efficient and take care of things. And most times we're the middle children. Like when in my family, I started out, I was the second oldest, but then I had to play the role of the oldest because like my parents always like relied on me because I was the dependable one. I was the one that that was reliable. My older brother, love him to death, but like he was just having fun in life.
Yeah. Play football, just I'm out of here. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm just living life over here. And I was the one who was always like sort of carrying the burden of like, paying attention to like what happens with your parents, right? When my parents got divorced, I can still recall this moment of like my older brother saying to me and me being so sad, like my parents divorced when I was like going to the 7th grade. And my brother said, "You're so dumb. I mean, you're sitting there crying about something. We're going to get double the presents, double everything because they're all going to be trying to make up to us." And I was just like, "Oh, what are you talking about? Like, I just want my family." And I just remember that and sort of carrying like that burden of like, I just want like my family like to stay together. And I just remember, and my brother, that never crossed his mind. He just wanted to like get presents and have fun.
So spirit is literally just speaking. So spirit is, you worked so hard to keep the family together. So you're considered the parentified the child. If you go into the family system, you were the parentified child, which carries that burden. And you worked so hard to maintain that. That's where that brokenness comes from. But he won't understand that. I wouldn't understand that because I was the middle child. My sister was the parentified child. That yeah, my heart goes out to you.
So, but it's just amazing the things that come back to us, right? So, in all these years, right, the one thing that has come full circle for, like when my parents like divorced a long time ago, they never spoke, right? They both went on to remarry. I mean, they were cordial, but now at the age of like they're both now like single people again, and my parents like talk to each other. They like talk on the phone sometimes. They text each other, and I was just like, God, well, thank you for restoration, because it's like I don't have to like worry about that. I don't have to worry like, are they ever going to talk again? Like, can I do something? And I just think like prayer and healing and restoration, and I'm so thankful for that. And I'm like, I love this for us now. Like they don't have to ever, like in my perfect world, they get back together. But I'm okay with that. Like I understand they're individual and different people, but they're friends. And that is what matters to me.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's so funny. God will do redemption. I speak about that in my book because my parents obviously divorced when I was in 4th or 5th grade when that happened. But I witnessed my father disappear for about 12 years, but he came back and he was able to enjoy his grandchildren, do whatever he could do to make things right with my mom, even though that she was resistant most of the time. But it was like a daily conversation. My dad, Kyra, it was so weird to come home from college because I went local to a local college that was close by a university so I could work. And my dad is like coming over with like, all right, Anita, I got groceries here for you. That's not what you were asking me. Just like, I'm like, is this bizarro land? But yes, I'm going to soak it up for every ounce I have because I did not have that as a child. Yeah.
And another thing you mentioned also too is just about women stepping into their purpose. So, and I mean, again, we are a generation of go to college, get an internship, get a job, go into corporate America, like be able to take care of yourself. And I think we heard that. So, and then we've gone through moving up the corporate ladder or whatever our jobs may be. I'm just using my example because I do work in corporate America, but you're moving up that ladder because you're like, oh, trying to have that look of like whatever other people envision success look like, right? And then I think now, yes, you're right. Women are now coming to that place to where they're like, nope, I'm tired. Like, I'm done. I'm burnt out from this stuff. Like, I want to step into the purpose and for me, like, I know the purpose that God has given me and what's in my heart. And it's like, just so I'm going to go off just 1 second here because I just feel like over the last few days, like God has been putting people in my path that have been just like saying this. You are like the third person that has said to me, like, has said, not knowing it was for me, but like, you have just got to step into the purpose that God has given you. And as women, and I'm sure some of your clients have experienced this, can you talk about how you help women, especially navigate midlife? Midlife, I mean, you've got a life. You've got things that you have to take care of. And when you're like, I mean, you want me to step now? Like,
yes, there's kids going off to college, there's multiple incomes, there's heavy in marriage, yes, you're in the thick of it by midlife.
Yeah.
And so you will have some resistance because we are afraid of change, right? It's scary on the unknown. Yes.
Yeah.
So what's most comfortable is to just kind of get into the role of play. If you could create your ideal life, what would it look like? And that just might be like the creative artist side of me. Get creative, just like draw it out, write it out. What would you be? What would you do? What would your family look like? How would it feel? Then maybe once you discover what your purpose is, because we find it within, you might have to have those hard conversations with your significant other and ask, can we afford for me to throw the towel in?
Yeah.
What are we willing to sacrifice for me to be happy? Which is then going to reflect, because we know what it's like to be in a household. It's going to reflect in the whole house. Everybody's going to be happy because mom is happy.
Right. Yeah. I love that. And I love because there is something to like imagining and just putting out there, like stating what would my ideal life look like. And I think that's a great piece of advice to your client. So when you pose that to them and they like take their time, they map it out. What do you find? Do they come back and they're like, is it scary for some people? Are some people like, all right, Felicity, it's go time? Like, I could imagine it could be different for different people.
It is, because everybody has different circumstances. Some are divorced, with kids. The common theme, which is interesting, let's go with the thread, is that they all have the desire to do something that nurtures themselves and or the world.
Is that generational? Because I feel like there's so many people in our like age, group that we just want to make the world a better place. We want to help other people.
Yeah. We're the next matriarchal system. That's right. As the boomers go, we're the next matriarchal part of the world. So we are meant to then rebirth a new ideal of what feminism really is, if you get to the core of it, in my opinion. And that's that unconditional love, that's spirit. That's
I think that's so interesting because I love that too, because I think a lot of times you read things and people are like, oh yeah, like Gen Z just wants to save the world. And I'm like, there's a lot of people like in like my generation that like we are very much about like making things better and leaving this world better and helping other people. Like, I mean, we just didn't always have the opportunities because we came up at a different time and we were, we were like, yeah, go be successful, go out there, get a job and move up that corporate ladder. Like, get that top position. And then I think now a lot of us are just getting to the place where we're like, well, I don't really care about like that position anymore. Like, I just want joy every day.
Yes, the simplicity.
Yes.
Let's just talk about the simplicity of front porch rocking.
Right?
We're talking about the South. I mean, and that's just it. Just to have a glimmer of that in our life on a daily basis, regardless of where you are. Find that space, create that space in your home where you can have that front porch rocking experience. And just
Exactly. I like that. And I like that you said simplicity because I started doing words of the year and simplicity was my word of the year. And it's sort of like linger over. So what is this? 24, 23, it was simplicity. 24 was freedom. And it was still like simplicity and freedom because I feel like those are still two things that I am seeking at all times is to just have a simplistic, I don't need all the things. I don't need the noise. And then just freedom, right? The freedom to explore and the freedom to live a life that is joyful to me.
I want to go off of that because you're speaking my language, sister. What we come across though is I don't want to let go of my big house. Right? Because sometimes with that is going to come sacrifice.
Yeah.
And so but that means I can't. And I'm like, well, what are you willing to sacrifice here? You got to let something go. Yeah.
Yeah, that is very true because most of the time when you're going to that next level, you are going to have to shed something.
Yeah.
What that something is can be a number of things.
Yes. And it's just objects. It's just objects. That's the only way I can explain it. It's replaceable. Yes.
Yeah. I know. I mean, because you think of it, I think I was telling somebody else, like, look, like for me, I said my parents are getting older, they're retired now. And just to have the freedom, oh, my dad lives in North Carolina. Oh, I just went up to North Carolina to spend a few days with my dad, right? During the week. It wasn't on the weekend, it was just during the week. I wanted to go. My mom lives here in South Georgia. I wanted to just see my mom. Like those are the things that stand out to me now as things that I need and want to be doing. It's not like you said, yeah, homes are homes, they're great, but do you need that much space? Like, we're a two-person family and a fur baby. Have a big house. And I'm like, do we have to have this big house? Or can we like get rid of a lot of this stuff and just live like, a more simple life and be able to do more of the things like that we want to do that allows for us just to get up and go when we want to.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think when you can get to that point, I think to your earlier point, that is where it comes out when you're drawing like what your ideal life looks like. Because if you're saying, oh, I want the freedom to like travel and do these things when I want to, then it means, like you said, what am I shedding in return? So yeah, I love this. So good. So I know we've talked about a few topics as it relates to like our self-improvement and just like making those transitional changes. But what do you say to women who may be saying, hearing us speak or watching us and saying, that's right, Felicity, Kyra, like I get it. I'm going through that midlife transition. I didn't really know. Like I didn't know that what it was until hearing you all speak about it. But they're trying to figure out like how can they empower themselves in their lives.
Oh, what a great question. I think the more empowerment would reside just in loving ourselves and really tapping into that foundational root of who we are at the core. Because sometimes we get lost. We have another identity we've created through building a life, right? So we have to get back to the core, the root of who we are, that authentic, and go from there. Yeah.
Do you find sometimes with people that it can be hard because, right, like you said, people have almost built these facades or characters of like this is who I am and like me, this is who I am, especially and a lot of times it's built on in the professional world, right? Like women are like, I have to be this way in order to. Now I personally never felt like I had to be a certain way to move up the ladder, which it probably slowed me down because I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to be backstabbing people and like throwing people on the bus. Like, I'm just not going to do that. And I'm also not going to treat people poorly in order to like, for someone to feel like, oh, she's got that thing. I'm like, because if that's the thing, then I don't want it. Because I mean, I like to care. I remember I always used to get dinged by some managers in the past because, well, you just care too much about the people. And the thing of it is like, if you tell them that we need them to do something, then they need to be able to do it. And if they can't do it, then we'll find somebody else. And I was just like, well, we're never going to get the best out of people. Like, I come from a place of trying to understand and meet people where they are and seeing like, what are the unique strengths that you have? Because we can use all of them on the team, and it's figuring out how to get the best out of someone. Because guess what? They were hired for a reason. Like, we hired them because of something. And it's okay as the world changes, the job changes, the company changes, to have to like pivot and figure out like where somebody's talents may be best used. And so I think, yeah, so I sort of witnessed like women, building up these like fake characters to fit in with the men or to just outdo the men. And I think that just gets, it's hard for some of them. And then they have to try and shift when they realize like, I can't do this anymore.
No, because we were not designed as women to be in that hustle culture, first of all. So now we're in our masculine, okay? And then the masculine gets wounded as they, like you happen to mention, I'm proud of you, because I do have clients that have hurt women climbing that corporate ladder, and there is true regret in that as they've matured. We are in that wounded masculine. And so we want to be able to pull out of that, right? Work in our masculine, mind thrives in the office, be able to put that to rest and allow our feminine to come out when we're at home with our significant other, things like that. I want to touch back though on what you said, because I think what you happened to mention with finding the strengths in people was perfectly said, because my husband owns a company. And so I get, in-depth detail about this large company and, best friends with the head of VP of HR. And I hear it. And me doing hospital management for 22 years, I get it. You may not be the right fit for this department, but we're going to put you here. Yes, because you have this. Yes. And some people don't realize that. And it's just unsatisfying to see that people are, they're so narrow-minded.
Yes. Yeah, it's definitely really sad, because it's like, no, it's your job as the manager to help them. Like, it's just not like the world's in the 60s. You don't treat people that way. And I'm glad to hear even you mentioned about your clients who, have regrets when they had to step on another woman in order to succeed. I mean, I just was always like, look, there's a table. And there's opportunity for all of us. Like, we just have to work together. We just can't get in the room and then start, when the man starts cutting the other woman off, like being okay with that. Like, we have to stand together. Like, I would always say, I was there when my last job where I used to go into office, there was always this guy who would cut people off. Like, as soon as you start talking, he'd be like, okay, and then I just remember, I was like, you know what? Like, he's not gonna ever cut me off or anybody else can. And I remember like I started, and we were just starting the meeting. Like, I was literally going through the agenda for the presentation. And then he like cuts in and I'm like, okay, so would you like to run the presentation? Like, would you like to present it, or do you want me to present it? Because we can't talk at the same time. Like, I'm happy to let you chime in. I said, but like, I would prefer it if you chimed in after I present something. And and it was like, he was embarrassed. And he came to me afterwards and he said, I'm really sorry. Like, I didn't mean to like do that. He said, I wasn't trying. I said, yeah, but like, you just got to take a step back and like write a note. I said, because what I do when people are presenting is I write notes so that then when they ask for questions, I said, you have to realize, like, for a lot of people, it's hard for people to present. Some people aren't comfortable presenting information, and when you start cutting in on them, then they lose confidence more and more every time you stop them. Every time. And he was like, well, I hadn't thought about it that way. And then I thought to myself, I mean, come on, man. Like, man.
I can go two ways with that, right? We could go two ways with that process, but I like how you handled just communication. Like,
Yeah.
take some more communication classes because
Right.
I want to listen to understand.
Yes.
Don't talk over me.
Yes. Like active listening, and I say this to everybody, I'm like, active listening is the most important. So I said, I am never going to be the first person. I don't need to be the first person to comment on something in the room. I observe and I take information in. And I said, and when I speak, I want it to have meaning. And don't just, I'm not just talking out in a meeting just because somebody said. I did have a manager, a female manager, tell me, well, just always say something in the meeting. Like, even if you're saying something that somebody else said, like, just say it slightly different.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
What's
I
the
told,
purpose for that?
I know. I told her, I was like,
Yeah.
well, with all respect, boss, I was like, I'm not gonna do that. I said, because I make fun of those people in the meetings.
And it really just serves no purpose. And it just goes to, well, and that kind of just brings me back to women aren't still being valued in the workplace. If you feel it necessary to just say anything, just to yes, to show your voice, then how valued am I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I thought that, yeah, because yeah, working in corporate America over 20 years, you get a lot of those, like those moments. All right, so let's talk about your book. So Pieces of Me challenges the idea of a point of no return in life, which is very loaded. So can you talk about like what inspired you again? And you've mentioned and talked about a little bit about the book, and also some stories or insights that have resonated maybe with your readers.
Yes, yes. So I speak about generational trauma. I obviously, we started this off with me with the loaded gun of my dad. And then I speak deeply being raised in a family system because all families have systems, whether they're healthy or non-healthy. Mine happened to be very dysfunctional, where I was groomed into be the child that was going to go nowhere. And that's the box. I see your shelves. That's the box that I was put on the shelf. So I fulfilled that role well to the point to where, I landed into the hands of an abusive husband. And I remember specifically, you're never going to leave him, my sister saying, or my brothers just kind of being like, yeah, it's never going to happen. We don't expect anything more from you. So when I finally did that, when I finally made that decision and did that, that's when I officially pulled back my power from everybody, including my family. And I write about having to severely sacrifice relationships because you're going to see the true colors of everybody in order to rebuild myself to become the woman that I am today, the woman that I know that I was meant to be through God's eyes.
Yeah.
And it's and it's not that I don't love them. It's just it's a healthy boundary.
Yeah, that's a good one, Felicity, because it's healthy boundaries, but I also think too, like, I mean, you're like saying so many good things, like it's also healthy boundaries with your family and people you love. Like you can still love them, but you can also have boundaries of things where they just can't step in, like you can't overstep this. I love that. And I think a lot of people struggle with being able to set those boundaries, like with their family. They'll set them with everybody else. But like with family, they are like, and also, like you said, they put you in a box. And I feel like no one should be able to put you in a box and strip away your confidence and your sense of like who you are, even if they are people related to you.
Yeah. I mean, it was, I like how you said stripped away because it was all just stripped away down to the relationship. I speak a lot about the abandonment wounds that I had with my mother because she turned her back on me a few times, especially during those pivotal times in a woman's life. For example, when I was pregnant with my son, she turned her back on me. That I didn't have that opportunity to share pregnancy with a mom. I didn't have that. So my sister, the parentified child, she stepped up and she was there for me. And I freaking love her for that. And God bless her. I mean, she made sure, let's go baby shopping. Let's do the registry. Let's throw a baby shower together. Because my mom, I didn't have that.
Yeah.
And then towards the end of her existence, because both my parents passed away in 2013, about a couple months apart from each other, she made it very clear that she wanted to erase me from her life. And I said, you know what, Anita, you did a really good job at that, because I struggled to seek that validation from you after I had my son. Going to your house to have coffee, for you to ignore me and just have nothing to say, that's on you. I don't know what to say about that. That's
Yeah, you can't carry that.
Oh,
It's not your burden to carry. I mean,
nor do I want to pass that pattern on, because I do speak about generational patterns to my own family, my own son.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. So Felicity, you are currently close to completing a follow-up to this memoir. Would you be willing to give us a sneak peek into what readers can expect?
Yes, yes. So it's going to be a quick airplane read. So it's not much, but it's called The Higher Consciousness Approach to Forgiveness. And what I've learned over the past 3 years was how to ultimately deep down, just unconditionally love and forgive those that have truly hurt me. And I'm also very vulnerable and expose my own journey of just discovering or trying to discover who I am through this. And the lessons that I were taught. I'm very vulnerable and open in both books, but this one is different because it's more about me and my mistakes on my journey. It's a very humbling book. Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited for it. But then there definitely will be a part 2 or a part 3 to pieces of me, because my world is now just starting to go like this. I'm excited about that.
Oh, awesome. I'm so thankful just for all of your like transparency today in this discussion, because I think it's so important for people. And I feel like you're my people. Like, I mean, you're my people. And I just think like it's so important for women to know that like other people are going through that. And that's what I always feel is so important about the people that come on this podcast, is that they are willing to like, pull back the layers and just be real and let people know, because someone listening to us right now is getting fed. Yeah. And they are hearing that I'm not by myself. I'm not alone. And Felicity came out on the other side of it, and she's still growing and evolving, and I can too.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's talk about how the audience can connect to you, how they can find your books, how they can work with you, all those good things.
Absolutely. So books can be found on Amazon, Target Online, all that good stuff. Trying to get it into Barnes and Noble, a little bit hard. You can visit my website at www.sheisyoumag.com. That's where you can purchase the magazine. It's digital now. You can also find the one-on-one to work with me. And I only open myself up to 1 or 2 clients a year for that transformational journey coaching. And I just posted something on Instagram, which I think maybe the Instagram handle will be somewhere in your show notes.
Yes.
On my transformational journey, because I show a picture of when I was married to my ex-husband. Instagram, I think it was the gals did it yesterday for me, and where I am today. And it's about 13-year journey, but what a difference.
Nice. I love that. Yes, so please make sure you check that out, everyone. And we will drop all the links in the show notes as well. Okay. Oh my gosh. So we are going to transition now to 3 things with Felicity. Going to ask you 3 more questions that helps our audience get to know you a little bit better. Now, this first one is a 2-parter. It's one of my favorite questions to ask. How do you start and end the day?
I love it. As soon as I open my eyes, all right, God, it's you and me. How are we going to do it? Yes. And then we kind of like stumble our way, because there's kids and dads and dogs. Grab some coffee, but I start my journal off with and I call him Papa, because I know he's never left me. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, Papa. Yeah. I end my day pretty early, to be honest with you. Typically about like 6, like when I unwind. And what's most important is just to spend it with, if I can get some energy from my son. He's 16 and he's all baseball. Okay. So he's either in the gym or he's training. If I could get some loving from him, that would be fantastic. I take those moments as I can, but it's really about just, snuggling up, turning on a good show and just decompressing and, figuring out what the next step is going to be down the road. I'm heading out to Montana next week or the week after to do a book signing, maybe have the opportunity to experience Native American healing on a ranch. Yeah. And just go from there.
Awesome. I love that. Question 2, what is a goal or an intention that you set for yourself this year? And if you don't mind sharing, where are you with it?
So it's funny you mentioned that. I like that. So my word for the year was flow.
Okay.
Yeah. And we got 2 months left, right? Like 3 months, 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. So beginning of the year, it was like, okay, flow, flow, flow. I'm now, and so ladies, listen, this is important. I'm just wondering, where is this resistance coming from? Because things weren't flowing. And then I realized I wasn't in the state of receiving. I was so focused on getting, which is chasing. So if you're thinking about dreams or a man or a job or money, whatever it is, we cannot be in that chaser mode. Once I switched that trajectory, holy smokes, powerful.
I think that's really awesome to hear. I think that's really great advice. So yes, ladies, listen up, because we do tend a lot of times to be, oh, if I can get that job or if I can get this thing, like sometimes. And I think you said like you had to be in a mindset of receiving it. Let it come to you.
Yeah, and all divine timing. When it's meant to be, God will drop it.
Yeah, true. Yes, true. All right. And the last question is, where are you currently finding inspiration?
That's a good one. It's nature. If I can just speak freely,
Yeah,
we're currently experiencing history right now in the world. I mean, we're seeing biblical things lay out upon our eyes. And I always go, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And I truly do believe his kingdom, it's here. It's how you view the perception of it. So I take the gratitude in those moments, connecting outside in the sunlight and nature and the beauty, the small things, the butterflies, the birds, just that's how we got to get through this.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Felicity, I have really enjoyed our conversation today, and it's been so great to talk to you. And you can always come back here, always in the future. And I would have one more question for you before I let you leave me. It is, what are 3 things you would like for our audience to take away from our conversation today?
That you can, whomever you truly desire, whatever is in your heart, nobody can tell you what you are, what you can become. Don't let anybody stop you. Number 2 is you are never abandoned. God is always with you. He's got your back. He listens. He hears. He drops when you're ready for it. And number 3 is to find that balance between our masculine and our feminine. And especially for those single mamas out there, I was a single mama for years, and I know it's hard, and especially now in our economy that it's hard. Just know that you are loved, that you will be provided for in some way, shape, or form, regardless of how it comes.
Well, fantastic. I just want to say thank you again. And it's been such a pleasure having this chat today.
You too. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, stay tuned, everyone. I'll be right back.